David Bay here for MuscularDevelopment.com. We are in Cologne, Germany for FIBO 2015. I am here with six-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates. Dorian, first off, thank you very much for the interview as a longtime fan and a bodybuilder.
MD, man, anything for MD.
Thank you. We've talked with a few other guys about what's going on here in Cologne at FIBO and the Expo and stuff like that. Haven't talked a lot of actual bodybuilding yet, though. So if I got a few minutes with Dorian Yates, I want to talk bodybuilding, not Expo stuff. And I guess
just a side note, we're in Cologne now, but of course the whole thing started in Essen. I'm not really sure which year it started, but I've been coming to FIBO since '92, so it's actually my 23rd year.
Been here for a few years.
A lot of changes over the years. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. From what everybody said, it's grown by leaps and bounds to what it is today. Now, one of the things that obviously, Dorian Yates is most well known for is really ushering that era of guys who are not only massive, but bringing really, really grainy, freaky conditioning. And it's one of those things, Ronnie always brought in really good shape and carried obviously a ton of size. But since yourself and Ronnie, it's one of those things that we just haven't seen. Now, we've seen a lot of guys that are big walking around on stage. We've seen some of your smaller guys bring that really grainy conditioning. But to me, as somebody who's, at a lot of these shows, it seems like Branch Warren's one of the last of the guys who's packing a lot of mass and bringing that freaky conditioning. And I guess I just wanted to get your opinion. I mean, do you think it's a matter of guys trying to do too much? They're trying to, do too many things and not prepared ahead of time? Or is it a matter of the guys today just aren't willing to suffer like some of the guys were back in your day?
Well, I don't exactly know because I'm a little removed. I'm not training. I usually train people just in the gym for workouts. I don't get involved in a lot of contest preparation, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But it seems, in any sport, you got people that raise the standard, raise the bar, and then everybody else has to kind of follow. And my approach, although I was known to be a mass monster, or one of the first mass monsters, whatever that means, but I think I always competed below the level of muscle mass that I could have achieved because I was so concerned about bringing condition in. I wanted to be a heavyweight bodybuilder and trying to bring the condition that the smaller guys had. And that was my philosophy. Now I think, I have to be honest, I don't want to upset anybody, but if I do, it's tough shit. But I just think there's a little lacking in the work ethic, and generally the bar has been lowered. So if the bar is lowered, the general accepted condition seems to be a lot less than it was in the 90s. Then if that's what you've got to achieve, that's the standard you're going to go to. And I guess the guys are doing some things differently than we did in the 90s, as far as the pharmaceuticals and so on, which I'm not really up to date with. But I can just guess, the whole debate about the guys not being in shape and about having distended stomachs and so on. I think that we might be seeing probably muscle growth in muscles that you don't normally...
That shouldn't be growth.
That you don't normally work in the gym. So maybe you're getting growth around the waist and just general muscle growth everywhere. That's what it looks like. The guys are bigger, but they don't have a nice flowing shape. They don't come in condition. I'm not talking about everybody, but we're talking generally here. And you can go to an amateur competition and you can see some guys in great shape. But on the Mr. Olympia stage, we don't see that duplicated. Okay, the guys are much bigger, but I'd like to see them coming in shape. And I think that's the general feeling now. Everybody's a bit disappointed in the condition of the guys that are competing and winning professional contests.
Well, I know across the board, NPC competitions, I've been there myself, focusing so much on how we weigh on, or how much we weigh on stage. And I guess that's one of the things that we are seeing at the professional level as well. So many guys just focusing on being as big as they are. And it's interesting that you bring up the fact that you could have been bigger on stage, but you lost some muscle mass, because when people think about your days of competing, the first thing they think about is just you're massive, but
take a look at the pictures.
Mass.
2 weeks out from the contest,
right.
It's much smaller and bigger. But for the contest, I wanted to get shredded, so I had to actually sacrifice a little bit of muscle mass, and myself and then Ronnie after me even raised the bar more as far as muscle mass. But you got to look at how we did that. Look at how I trained. Look at how Ronnie trained.
Hardcore as it
I don't
gets.
see that anymore. Guys want to be big and put their pictures on Facebook, but they don't want to go in a gym and hurt themselves, you know? And for me, that's the whole thing about the sport that I loved, is the challenge, the personal challenge, the challenge. How hard can you train in the gym? How hard can you push yourself? You know, it's a discipline on the diet, on the dinner table, to say no when you're hungry. All that was a great challenge for me, and that was the beauty of the sport, and I think we've lost that a little bit.
Do you think, you know, you bring up Facebook, an interesting subject, social media, and all this exposure that bodybuilders are getting now in 2015 and even in the last 5 years that they weren't getting in the early 90s and mid-90s? Do you feel like some of the other things that are going on today might be a distraction for some of these guys that you didn't have to worry about?
Absolutely. I mean, guys are in the gym and they're putting their pictures on Facebook. I mean, what about concentrating on your training, you know? And, you know, in my day, we didn't have the internet. So if you wanted to get your picture published or your article with your views and so on published in a magazine or publish a book, you had to have some credibility behind it, you know, before people would, you know, publish a book or put you in their magazine. Now everybody on the internet, you know, can promote themselves as being an expert and being a superstar and so on. So it's kind of watered it down a little bit.
Yeah, well, and it backfires for a lot of guys. You know, every year we see these pictures coming up online of somebody getting ready for a show 3 or 4 weeks out. You don't know whether they're photoshopped. You don't know whether they're filtered. There gets to be so much buzz about how great these guys look, and then they get on stage, and the first question everybody asks is, well, what happened? Yeah. You know?
Yeah, it'd be better if people just focus, if they're doing a competition, focus on the competition, you know? You don't win anything by putting your picture on Facebook, as you say, you know? The competition is on the stage at the contest, so maybe you should concentrate a little bit more on that.
All right, well, guys, I think that's about as good of advice as we can get from anybody. We'll probably wrap it up. Worry about the competition. Don't worry about putting your pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, don't forget about the training, guys.
But you just got to put in the work. That's what it comes down to. Well, once again, you know, from a journalistic standpoint and just from a fan, I really appreciate your time, everything you've done for us at MD this weekend. So thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up. Let Dorian get back to his fans. All right, so once again, this is David Bay from FIBO 2015 with 6-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates for MuscularDevelopment.com.